So last week on the program, we spoke about the big announcement from founder Patricio Werthalter regarding the future of POAP's economics. And this announcement had sparked a lot of discussion and has encouraged many to give their opinion on the matter. Because of this, POAP growth manager Anthony, he went on Discourse and created a topic seeking to be the place where the community could give their thoughts and opinions on questions regarding the announcement. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down on this OP so you can look at it with me. All right, so this OP says, while issuers and collectors have enjoyed POAP being free since inception, this is because of subsidization from both Patricio's personal funds and the POAP Inc. treasury. While it's common for products to be free in the early days to help fuel growth, we the community need to understand that using protocols that preserves human memories comes with real costs. Now, he doesn't really elaborate what factors into these costs. And in the thread, you do see plenty of responses asking what exactly they mean by their costs. Now, I don't work for POAP or know their costs in any way, but my guess would be things like gas fees on Gnosis chain, any tech infrastructure that they have, server costs, things like that, and employee salaries, etc., etc. So he asks a few questions here, but to simplify it, he's asking, should the issuers, collectors, or POAP Inc. pay for POAP drops, and why? So there's over 65 replies to this, and I'm going to go through and read some. I'll highlight the relevant bits and give a little commentary here and there, but I mostly want to keep my thoughts until the next segment in today's show. So first off, let me scroll down. I want to look at Lamboshi's response. All right, here it is. So he says, quote, my opinion on this issue is going to depend heavily on how much POAP is actually spending in transaction fees. I don't know how much POAP is spending and don't know how significant that number is in comparison to the current future treasury. I think it is definitely smart to start experimenting with ways for POAP to earn revenue, but for now, users not needing access to their wallet and not needing to have money ready to go on Gnosis chain is hugely beneficial for growth. When I'm at a conference and I meet someone who is not familiar with POAP, they almost always become skeptical when a stranger asks them to mint an NFT. Being able to say, no, you don't need to sign anything, you could just type in your ENS, always makes people feel more willing to start using POAP. He goes on a little bit. If POAP does want to start experimenting with charging for POAPs, keeping minting free for end users should be the priority. So charging event organizers seems to me the best fast forward. My first instinct is a tiered structure, end quote. All right, so I think he's very spot on with even the skeptical people being very willing to mint POAPs at events because the current model, it makes them easy to use. I like what he had to say here. In fact, I liked a lot of what he had to say here, but let's go ahead and continue on. See here. Hartel. All right, so Hartel, they give their thoughts. And to summarize, they talk about how there should be a way for people to choose whether or not they want to send funds to POAP. So basically, you create an event, then you get the option to donate. You mint a POAP, well, you get the option to donate. POAP Inc. would then use those funds to keep the system going. But I want to focus on their additional comments. So they had state, quote, why not have POAPs with properties/characteristics? Sellable? Yes or no. Free issue? Yes or no, etc. I have also heard the POAPs that you have to buy, called premium POAPs, seems like a great way to distinguish between the two. So I do like the idea of being able to give POAP certain characteristics, like if it's soulbound or not. Maybe that could help determine pricing. But then he mentions premium POAPs, which I do want to clarify is not an official POAP product. It was purely a naming convention for a dgem bot feature. It was not something released by POAP. And if someone is claiming they're going to sell you a premium POAP, they're most likely trying to scam you. And please don't fall for that, but okay. Back on track. Let's look at some other replies. So here, let's scroll down. How about just right under him, Silent T. He had a pretty good post, and I love his answers, but I want to look at question number 1 here. So they say, as the initiator of the entire drop, the issuer should pay. The specific amount of payment should be determined according to the specific number of POAP claimed. First, the payment will be charged according to the number of links in the application. After the expiration date, the unclaimed POAP payment will be returned. And I really like that kind of idea. It's actually part of the basis of my thoughts too. So me and him sort of linking up in that regard. Moving on, let's see here. We have Graham, yes. So Graham, he says that a charge would force his project to, here in the center, it says pass that cost on to customers of our services and or convert to a different token with a better cost utility benefit. So doesn't particularly want to pay for POAPs himself. His project wouldn't really be able to use them if they're getting charged. So something to consider. Let's see here, who else? Omas. They are throwing out the idea of using Gitcoin grants or buttons to donate on the claim page and issuer page, or having sponsors, and that it still makes sense that large companies pay for their drops. And he talks about Adidas, Tinder, Toblerone, and Yuga Labs, saying that they gain brand visibility with their POAP campaigns. And he also states a little bit later on that he finds it rather impractical to pay each mint, and he would rather buy a package of like 10, 50, or 100 mints. So definitely a good idea there. I think that's something that's definitely been rolling around in the ideas bag, being able to do mint link purchases. Say you want to purchase like 100 mint links for $10 or however much it would cost. See who else? Jeff Lemaniac had a really good post, want to highlight, saying that issuers should be the ones paying, possibly by implementing a sliding scale. A campaign similar to MailChimp seems like it would integrate well, which I have no idea what MailChimp is, but could be interesting. Maybe I need to do some research on that. Free for the small gathering events, say 25 or less. Sliding scale upwards. Pitfalls. Will anyone pay, or will it just become a flea market of free events? Interesting way to put that. What is the reason they want to pay in the first place? Usually inclusiveness or profitability. Some bigger names have used POAPs as gates to their communities. Maybe it's more about strategic partnerships, and then he gives examples of the MFL, MLB, and onboarding the masses. Some good thoughts there by Jeff. Let's see here, who else? Let's see here, Arebrals or Rebels. They posted issuers are creating a product to give their customers/followers. POAP is the protocol software that help make that product, similar to Canva, which I use plenty of. Uh, Perhaps there should be a premium subscription model to help subsidize the cost of minting. I also believe POAP should be collecting a fee to go towards the POAP treasury. This strategy will help maintain the protocol and fund future development. Interesting. I actually have a little bit of that in my plan as well. See, right under that, Amanda chiming in, replying that issuers should pay, but more like a monthly membership, but free for those who actually build on top of the POAP protocol. I kind of wonder what she means by, people building on top of the POAP protocol. Perhaps maybe they can be shown that they're some sort of model issuer, and that gives them access to free or heavily discounted drops. Perhaps that's what she means. See here, who else is on here? Scroll down a little bit. Samographico. All right, so Samographico taking a little bit of a different approach, saying, I think it makes sense to pay 50% from the issuer and 50% from the recipient or the collector. For the issuer, it makes the active and interested members of the project more known, and for the receiver, it also causes more effort and spending more energy in the project. Of course, later on, the issuer can consider offers to active individuals to offset the costs. Perhaps this method will prevent everyone from entering the project without knowledge and without spending time just to get POAP, and there will be more opportunities for active and useful people in the projects. So hey, wanting to take a 50-50 approach, never, or I shouldn't say never, uh, people not necessarily taking that approach, Samographico, with a little bit of a unique one there. So here, moving on, who else do we have? We have Amir 007. They point out that, let's see here, let me get this fully on screen here. They wrote out quite a bit. Mostly what I want to highlight is in the center. I'm too far away from my screen to really be able to read it properly and point it out, but I think it's somewhere in here if you're able to see my cursor. But they point out that POAP competitor OAT, better known as on-chain achievement tokens, they have a system that places the cost of gas on collectors and sometimes the Galaxy.eco project itself, which is between Galaxy.eco and the issuers. So this is something that I didn't know. I don't really pay attention to on-chain achievement tokens, but it seems like they function like a usual NFT, and then you're able to negotiate away the gas fee for the collector. And I'm speculating here, but this post, it leads me to believe that the issuer has to pay something in order for that to happen. So basically, the issuer can choose to pay the gas fee or put it on the collector. It's basically whatever they want to do. Kind of interesting. No, I've floated that idea in my head too. Kind of leave it up to what the issuer wants to do. If they want to subsidize it for the collector, then they can, or maybe they want to have the collector pay for it. But I'm just gonna leave it there for now. All right. So this is Metaversive submitting his thoughts, and he's writing. I suggest that issuers start paying for the POAP creation and distribution, while the acquisition and minting by collectors to remain free. Another thought would be to offer tiers of issuance, so depending on the size of the drop, a predetermined fee will be set, with a rebate system in place to incentivize thoughtful and responsible usage of the protocol. I think POAP would pay for a drop in the case of charity events, for instance, or in cases where issuers are not able to afford it. Then there would be a proposal sent referring to how maybe the Decentraland DAO grant proposals are handled. So when it comes to what was written here, I like a lot of what was written, but honestly, I don't think a POAP DAO would work well. Perhaps a decision like that would need to be presented to the curation body instead. All right. Moving on to the next one, we have Josh Dot Proof having a great post. So he points out a lot of people who are not aware of POAP will probably not go through the extra steps of sending coins to a wallet in order to pay for a POAP at an event. This will probably slow the growth of POAPs and make it harder for widespread adoption. I am really against making collectors pay for the drops because it will make POAPs harder for people who don't know what it is to get into them. As someone who makes events, I would be more than willing to pay to use the service. I think POAP should have issuers of drops pay to make them based on the amount of links that they need. There can also be other ways to monetize the drop creation process. For example, if someone wanted to make a higher quality APNG, have them pay a small fee in order to have a larger file size. POAP could also allow more customization on the template page for businesses who want more of their brand showing when people mint links. So some pretty good ideas from Josh here. I really like his thoughts on adding in some tiny paid for features. Maybe perhaps if it's just a one-off, you could pay a small fee, or you could have some sort of membership pass that grants it to you. Pretty good ideas there. All right, moving on. Oops gave a pretty good long post on his thoughts and feelings and his ideas. I kind of want to look at the bottom here because Oops, this really large post, he outlines a donation approach. So he writes, the cost does not necessarily need to fall on POAP Inc. or the issuers. There are many others that benefit from the POAP protocol. He starts with sponsors. He's saying, for hundreds of thousands of people, POAP will be their first exposure to Gnosis Chain. Every app on the network benefits from this exposure. For Gnosis and all of its parties, it's in their best interest to support POAP as it continues to grow. He then outlines donors. He says, the POAP protocol is a public good leveraged by many. and have direct incentive to help it continue to flourish. This could be done in various ways, such as communal donations, Gitcoin grants, or a raise of some kind. See Pooling NFTs by Pull Together, for example. These two groups, coupled with the support of the issuers and POAP Inc., could produce a sustainable system without the need for the collectors to pay for drops. POAP can remain the perfect onboarding tool to Web3, but there must be ways to remain free for collectors in order to do so. Really great post by Oops, a lot to consider there, some really good points made up, and some good reminders of what it being free for collectors actually allows, and really how important POAP is for things like Gnosis Chain. To be honest, the only time I even interact with Gnosis Chain is when I'm using a POAP, so it's kind of like POAP's network, if you really want to sort of think about it, at least from my perspective. I'm sure there's plenty of great things on Gnosis Chain, it's just I don't necessarily use it for anything but POAPs. All right, moving on. We have Dwyer. They took a slightly contrary approach. So they suggested that it should be on the collector side. And they're saying, quote, 5 first mints are free. After that, the wallet should have a paid NFT membership that grants the access to free mint without signing, so they can have the same smooth experience without the most of POAP farmers, because they will need to hold the membership. It should be affordable for all. If it's so expensive, maybe creating the issuer NFT for projects after X events would be fine. So again, a bit contrarian. I'm not really sure how that would work out. I feel like somehow POAP would need to know that you have that NFT membership, so you would need the sign in. So, I don't know, maybe it's able to see like, oh, hey, this address has been receiving POAPs, but that can be abused a little bit, I think. That's probably not a good approach, in my opinion, but I do like to see the feedback and the opinions. All right, so we have Jungle Rush giving their opinion and ideas rather. So they're saying, quote, issuers should be paying on a subscription basis, so no person wanting to do the subscription basis. There should be different tiers and differentiators, such as if an issuer is a nonprofit, issuance of low-high volume, issuance of animated low file size, tiers within nonprofit, personal, commercial entities. So wanting to have perhaps traits within the membership that sort of tells the system exactly what they can and can't do. Kind of interesting. But okay, we're pretty much at the end of the thread. Let's see here. I want to end it off with this post right here from Serve Tranquil. They say, quote, I actually feel that both issuers and collectors need to participate pardon me. Let me try that one more time, y'all. I actually feel that both issuers and collectors need to participate to address 2 different issues. Fees paid by the issuer, whatever it needs to be, could be fixed or proportional to the number of mints. In my opinion, this is necessary to decrease the work done by the curation body and maybe ultimately remove the curation process altogether. It's also needed if POAP wants to fully embrace the Web3 ethos and push its decentralization. Fees paid by the collector. I'm in favor of a free mint, but gas fees that the collectors charge. Since it's on the Gnosis chain, it's pretty insignificant and would be a good step to reduce cyber attackers and or farmers. Well, all right, that is where I wanted to end it on everyone's discussion. So lots of fantastic conversation going on in the discourse this past week. Some really insightful stuff from the users in the POAP community. But what do you believe POAP Inc. should do to help pay for the infrastructure? I'll go ahead, I'll put a link to this post in the description, or you can even post a comment down below and share your thoughts with me. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Really appreciate you doing that for me. If you liked what you saw, maybe you should hit like. Maybe you should hit subscribe, who knows. If you want to see the full show that this segment came from, you want to click here now. Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone. This is Mr. Mojo, signing out.